Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Hawk Blogger Mornings, a Seahawks Saturday edition of Hawk Blogger Mornings. I'm Brian Nemhauser. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Hawk Blogger. And Seahawks Saturdays are quickly becoming one of my favorite parts of the week because I get to share a casual conversation with my buddy Jeff Simmons about all the things that have happened during the week and all the things that are about to come. But today's an especially special, to use that word too many times, edition because we get to preview the Seahawks game that's happening tonight. So, Jeff, man, how's life?
It's good. It's good, man. I'm up north at my family's lake house. It's around the water. In Canada, we call them cottages. America calls them lake houses. I don't know why. You can see from my background, I'm at a cool little house for the summer weekend. I got a new iPad this week, so we're testing it out today. You can probably finally clearly see me. It's probably the best visual you've had of me. I don't know if that might scare our audience, but yeah, you can. Best picture I've had here. The internet's good here. Should be a fun day.
That sounds fantastic. Are you going to be able to watch the game tonight?
I'm hoping to. So I'm still trying to find a stream. The game
Mm,
comes live on the NFL Network after the game, but I know I'm not going to be able to wait until it's 11 p.m. Eastern time.
no.
There's no way I'll be able to. So I'll try to find a stream. I had the iPad out last night, and I was watching multiple games. So I know I'm pretty
Yeah.
sick and addicted. So
Yeah. What did you watch last night?
I mostly watched the Steelers and the Texans, but then I caught a bit of the Falcons Dolphins game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I was mostly Steelers and Texans. There's a lot of guys we've watched. I saw a bit of the Ravens and Eagles this morning. I saw Nate Wiggins was getting a lot of hype. And yeah, it was interesting. But me and you've covered the draft so much the last 2 years, and you don't really see a lot of these guys until preseason. So it was kind of fun to see guys that we've talked about for years. Like Peyton Wilson was all over the run for the Steelers last night. Nate Wiggins was he was a guy we were looking at a little bit. I don't think we loved him for Seattle, but just so many names that we've talked about. It's funny to see these guys now, and yeah, you get to see all these guys play. No Russ last night though.
Yeah, who stood out to you? I mean, I agree. Like, I have all these names. Like, I've been tracking now because of the draft that I haven't typically. Um, who stood out to you when you watched?
Peyton Wilson looks pretty good, especially against the run. They didn't throw the ball a lot. C.J. Stroud looked great. He threw a touchdown that in the one drive he really got to play. Funny enough, Trenton Simpson looked pretty good. Remember him from last year?
I do. Yep.
So Trent Simpson is a guy me and you looked at a lot for linebacker, and he played really well. And the Seahawks actually could have drafted him. They traded that third round pick away for this year's third round pick, which they ultimately traded for Howell. So I'm a little annoyed that Trent Simpson looked pretty good last night. That's a linebacker. And then Peyton Wilson. So that's 2 years in a row they could have had pretty decent linebacker depth. So it's going to be really interesting to compare Tyrese Knight to what those two guys looked like. And even Jeremiah Trotter flashed a little bit from what I watched this morning. So a lot of guys we've looked at at linebacker. That's been a hyper focus for us. It'll be interesting to watch our linebacker tonight just to compare that how he looks versus those guys.
Yeah, I saw some of the Peyton Wilson plays, and that guy, I mean, his story was pretty clear. I mean, if you watched him, he was one of the most talented linebackers and clearly one of the best playmakers, and for some people, one of the best defensive players in college football last year. But he's got serious medical questions. So I think it's a question of whether or not he'll be able to stay on the field, not necessarily what he can do when he's on the field. But it was cool to see him ball out a little bit. I watched Michael Pennock last night. I was so excited. I mean, we play both the Dolphins and the Falcons, so it was getting to watch those teams anyway. But then getting to see Michael Penix in his first game, getting to see Chop Robinson, Grayson Murphy, both are on the Dolphins, guys that we talked about quite a bit. And Penix looked really good. I mean, he had a couple plays that weren't as good, but his command already of that offense looks, after watching like Hard Knocks with Caleb Williams, so Caleb Williams, I think, is going to play at 10 a.m. Like, he's right after our show.
He is.
So
I'm going to watch some of that.
we're getting off right at 10 because I want to go watch that and see what that looks like. But I thought Michael Penix looked like a starting quarterback in the NFL. He was pretty sharp.
And you could tell with a lot of the quarterbacks. There hasn't been quarterbacks where you kind of like miss in the preseason. I just remember like when we watched Russ that first preseason, and you could tell right away. And it's usually the hardest to watch a preseason game when you don't have like an exciting quarterback to watch. So Penix, yeah, like, look, you were all over that Penix should be a top 5, top 10 pick in this draft. And he's playing with second string O-line, second string receivers. Now imagine you put him with Bijan Robinson, Pitts, Drake London. Like they have some awesome weapons there. It's really too bad that Cousins is there because that would be a ton of fun to watch. And yeah, all indications were he looked pretty good with the receivers. I saw you tweet like they're going to the receivers they're playing. It's not Roma Dunze. So
No, I mean it was. I already see someone in chat saying he only had one good throw. That is not the way I'd evaluate his performance at all, and I don't think other people would either. There's never other folks. It's not just me out there saying it, but I saw him go through progressions. I saw him, hit guys over the middle. I saw him make some throws that Casey Washington or whoever the receiver was just looked like not good. Like he I would say he had, of his 15 attempts, maybe 2 or 3 of them were not great, but the rest of them I thought he ran that offense with confidence and it was fun. Like I'm a huge Penix fan. People know that, but I was open to the fact that he could come in the NFL and look overwhelmed. That first series, he definitely didn't. So, or that first game. What do you expect tonight, man? I haven't had a chance to talk to you about this game tonight. Like, we're gonna get to watch Byron Murphy for the first time tonight. Like, what's on your mind heading into this game?
It's the first time we get to see how Mike McDonald handles the preseason. So it's interesting to hear him this week say that most of the defensive guys are going to play and not a lot on the offense. Gino's not playing on offense. So I'm just going to be really curious to watch how vanilla they are on defense. Are they trying things out? Yeah, like you said, we get to see Byron Murphy for the first time. And you've been down to camp. I haven't had a chance to see him yet. And so I'm really eager to see him. I don't expect we'll see much defensively in terms of like creativity or scheme. I think they're going to just working on communication. I think they're going to be working on getting people comfortable with each other. But I don't think McDonald wants to give away much, especially defensively. I think if you watch Baltimore in the past, they show basically nothing. So it'll just be interesting to watch the individual players. I'm not focusing on scheme. I think Grubb will be kind of the same. I expect them to be really vanilla on offense. One of the things that Seattle offers is they have a lot of mystery to them. And I don't think they're going to want to give anything away in preseason. So I think they just want the defense to get. So I'm going to be watching just a lot of players individually. How do some of the O-linemen look? Like Christian Haynes is a guy I'm really interested to see because with him, it's like you can't really always see what he can do in practice, but can he do well in the game? Mike Jarrell is a guy you've talked about a lot. So it's more looking at individual guys. Like some of the guys we're probably most excited to see, the JSN, DK. I don't know how much we'll see from those guys. Kenneth Walker. But there's a lot of interesting players. That's the thing about the Seahawks team and why preseason is actually going to be kind of fun for them. Like Howell's a guy everyone's talked about how underwhelming he's been, but he looks better in the games. But again, the Seahawks aren't short of like a couple of years ago when we were watching them. I remember you were like, there's like no fun players here.
No.
Once the starters came out, it's like this is bad. So I think this team actually will not be shy at that. I think there's basically you can go position for position. And you can find someone in almost every position that will be kind of interesting to watch. And I think that makes them interesting. That's all you're looking for in preseason. You want to watch young players.
Well, there's a list. I got to go through the list. You hit a number of the names. I don't think I would expect, my prediction is we won't see Kenneth Walker.
Yeah.
I doubt we'll see Tyler Lockett. I don't think we'll see Noah Fant. He's been nursing a little bit of an injury. Maybe Jaron Reed will sit out. I don't know. But we'll see. But we'll see. I think most of the rest of them. I mean, Jerome Baker's out with injury, so he'll be out. But Tyrese Knight will start. He'll be alongside Tyrell Dodson. Dodson is, I mean, I'm looking forward to watching him play in live action. That guy's been bringing it. I don't think Draymond Jones will play because he's been coming off an injury. Daryl Taylor won't play, which means I think we will get a lot more Nelson Caesar in this game for people to watch. He's number 46. I think he's had a good camp. And then, I mean, Byron Murphy's number one for me, Jeff. I really, really want to see him against other players. But Mike Morris is up there.
Yeah.
He's been coming on. And beyond that, I mean, there's a fair amount. Like George Halani's had a nice camp. And there's a bunch of offensive linemen. I think Brady Russell, I'm a fan, so people will notice him for sure. But there's a long list of guys. Derek Hall, seeing him, he'll get a fair number of snaps as well. So yeah, there's a lot of guys to pay attention to in this game.
Yeah, so if anyone has a stream for this game, please send it my way. That's number one. But I don't want to have to wait till 11 p.m. Eastern time, 8 p.m. your time. Everyone's already watched the game. My Twitter, I have to go off my phone for 3 hours. But yeah, you hit a lot of the good names, and Derek Hall's a good one because I don't think we'll see too much Uchenna. I think they should take it a little easy on him. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting names, and even someone like AJ Barner, we haven't heard much from. He might look a little better in the game, and it's just you can go almost position by position. And Mike Morris is good because he flashed a little bit last year, and then he got hurt. We were kind of excited about him. He's a guy that could really excel in this kind of setting, and yeah, I don't know how much Charles Cross we'll see, or I don't know if the center battle would have been a really interesting thing. Not so much as now. Now I don't really care about either of those guys.
Well, it's funny you bring it up. I think that is kind of important because, look, you and I haven't had a chance to talk since the Connor Williams signing became official. We talked about that a little bit, but he's been hurt. Got hurt last year. He's coming off injury. We don't know if he's gonna be available the whole season or how that'll look. So
that's true.
It is worth. I mean, we don't know which of the two centers is the one that they'll keep. You'd assume it would be Oluwatimi, but maybe there's a chance he ends up off the roster and on a practice squad.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Nick Harris fits probably better as the backup because he can play more positions. And he's probably more suited for that role. Timmy's a center-only guy, and they could probably slip him through the practice squad. So, you might have the guard battle will be really interesting tonight. Seeing Anthony Bradford, if he can look a little different, and it doesn't sound like it's been like that at practice so far. But, yeah, their backups at offensive line are interesting, which is usually the worst part of watching a preseason game is how bad. Oh, my God.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good Lord.
What's up,
Where
boy?
are you, Jeff?
I'm at my family's lake house.
Oh my God. Where was my invite?
Well, it's not hot enough for you here.
That's true, but a lake house sounds nice.
Yeah, my wife's family has one like an hour out of the city. It's pretty sweet.
That's awesome. Well, what are you guys talking about? I don't mean to interrupt here.
No, man, it's great to see you. We were just talking about the game tonight, who we're looking forward to seeing. I don't know about you, dude. I'm going to have my eyes fixed on Byron Murphy. I think I just want to watch the defense, even though, like, obviously I want to see the offense, but I just want to see him look like a beast tonight. Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Well, it makes sense. Usually, like, the only thing that makes offense fun in the preseason is when you have, like, a rookie or a young quarterback. I don't know if Sam Howell and PJ Walker are the guys. I know Brian was a little high on Howell when they got him. I don't know as much since he's seen him practice. So defense makes sense.
Yeah. Who are the main guys? I know Gino's not playing tonight. Did they say any other?
They didn't say the others, but I would guess, like running backs, they usually take easy. So I would just be shocked if Kenneth Walker's out there. I'd guess Tyler Lockett would take the night off. Mm-hmm. I think Noah Fant will be out, tight end, because he's been banged up just a little bit. And they got plenty of tight ends to play. So those are the guys I'm guessing won't play. maybe he'll give Jaron Reed the night off. I don't know. Some of the vets they'll give off, but
You know who might be an interesting watch is do we know if Khalil Mack is playing tonight?
Mack and Bosa.
Going up against Charles Cross.
It's a great question. I hadn't thought about that.
I mean, I don't think Charles Cross is going to get a ton of series or anything, but he's a guy that we've kind of frequently talked about as somebody that we think he needs to take a step forward this year, going into a pivotal year 3 of his rookie deal. And, I think it's not a sexy position, but his ceiling, I think, could really determine how far this team goes or is capable over the next several years. But maybe that's a hot take. Maybe you guys disagree.
No, I think it's huge. And the thing that I'd kind of call out that Mike McDonald has said multiple times is how much he values reps, that he believes good play comes from reps. And he's joked about it that they had the Blue Angels in talking to the team, and someone asked them, like, what do you guys have to do to, like, be able to have that tight of formation and, like, do all these tricks and stuff? And the guy said reps, and Mike McDonald literally cheered, and all the guys groaned, because apparently he's been really emphasizing how much it's about repetition and learning and preparing. The reason I'm bringing that up is because I was surprised they're going to play starters at all. They are. And I think you said about the offensive line, maybe Charles Cross doesn't get that many snaps. I think offensive line, I think they want to get a lot of reps for those guys.
Okay.
What?
Bad news for Evan. I was looking it up on my phone. Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack are both out tonight.
No.
As well as Justin Herbert's out, and Easton Stick is going to play the entire first half at quarterback for the Chargers.
You know what?
Great way to test our defense.
You know what? I am completely fine with a dominant defensive effort against Easton Stick. I mean, he's not that bad of a backup, by the way. He's played NFL games.
Yeah, Herbert. I would have liked to see Mack against Cross, though. Evan did just get me excited for that.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, I like, someone turned me on to it. The NFL Plus subscription gets you access to any preseason game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's how I watched last night. I got to stream to any of those. So if you are feeling it eager, you can sign up for that. Evan, like, what's been the NFL news that you've been following this week? Anything caught your eye? Seahawks or otherwise?
I mean, it's the Ayuk stuff, right?
Yeah.
With the Niners, like, this is just such a mess. It is such a mess. What week of training camp are we in? The second week, entering the
this
third
is
week?
Third
week, entering fourth week.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that report that came out last night from Tom Pelissaro? I don't know how to say his last name. Who said, like, the Niners are back at the negotiation table, freshly considering an extension with him. Jeff, what are your thoughts on that? Because I know you love to read sort of like the agent workings through the media.
So at first I was like, oh shit, like, I've been worried just because of how, like, that story's gone from, like, oh, it's certain he's going to get traded, and then he just hasn't. And it seems like the Steelers are not offering anything. So I was like, oh, crap. This feels like the Niners are going to end up getting this guy. And maybe that's possible. But then, I don't know if you saw this, Evan. Ayuk went on Instagram and said it was bullshit.
Yeah.
No, he literally said, I've got it open here. He says, he responds to the Pelissaro thing saying, it's 2 options out there. Pick one and stop dropping reports. Simple.
What do you think he means those 2 options are? Like, is it stay and sign the deal or offer a better deal or just trade him? Or is it like 2 teams that he's referring to?
Yeah. What did you think he meant, Jeff?
I think he meant pay me or trade me.
Pay me or trade me.
And it seems like, well, now it's pretty clear the Niners are the ones controlling the media message. Yeah. And they are notorious leakers. So it's been very interesting.
The topic around, like, we had an interesting discussion that I wish like we honestly had talked about live, was around the leverage that we feel like each franchise has. And I know, Brian, you're kind of on one side, and I don't remember what your perspective was, Jeff, but like, it's interesting because like, I really do feel like there's pressure on both sides to get this done. Like, this is not like, either way, this is not optimal for the Steelers. This is not optimal for the 49ers. Like, it is a distraction for like the Niners, right? They're coming off a Super Bowl hangover. They're 1 year older. They've lost to the Chiefs a couple of times now in the Super Bowl. Like, they've got to be mentally locked in. We all know how difficult it is to, be a contender every single year, like psychologically, team leadership wise. And he's a core part of that offense. And I think there's a real chance that Brock Purdy looks very different with him off the field, and that offense moves totally differently. So,
let's go through the leverage thing for a second, because I was shocked. I brought this up in our Real Hawk Talk chat yesterday, and most people saw it differently than me. So like, I'm always fascinated when that's the case. It's more fun to talk about things where we don't see it the same way.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got three parties at least, right? You've got the Steelers, you've got Brandon Ayuk, and you got the 49ers. And the question is, who's going to blink first? Are the 49ers going to raise their offer to Ayuk or accept less in trade compensation from Pittsburgh? Like, accept what Pittsburgh offering as opposed to holding out for more?
Mm-hmm.
Are the Steelers going to blink and offer more trade compensation? Because it sounds like Ayuk's already agreed to go there and to sign a deal with them. So it's really just about the 49ers holding that up, or it's about the trade compensation because the 49ers don't like what they're getting. And then you've got Ayuk, who right now is not losing any money because he's holding in.
Mm-hmm.
But once the season starts, he's going to lose game checks if he chooses to sit out. Is he going to blink and either take less money from the 49ers, or, of those three, kind of, I'll share my opinion last because, whatever. But Jeff, where do you feel like people, like, there's a lot of 49ers fans that are like, 49ers have all the leverage here. Is that how you see it?
No, I see the exact opposite. I think the 49ers have no leverage here. And I think they're they painted themselves into a corner. And I think Evan just sort of alluded to this, but they're in their Super Bowl window right now. And not only that, this whole thing is holding up Trent Williams, who's their best player. And they're not paying him right now because they need to resolve this first. And so the pressure of getting Williams back into camp and then figuring out Ayuk, I think they're interrelated. And they're in a window where they haven't paid Brock Purdy yet. So any financial decision they make is going to be connected to the eventual contract. Brock Purdy's probably going to be pushing $60 million a year, maybe more.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to get this figured out. And the fact that they didn't trade him in April, and we were talking about the other day, like, they could have got Troy Fautanu. They could have got a really good corner.
Brian Thomas.
And this next year's first round is not supposed to be nearly as good. So, and it doesn't help you now when this is your last year of Purdy on the rookie contract. There's a clear window. So for me, I don't see really any leverage other than controlling the trade compensation they'd get from Pittsburgh. And funny enough, that rumor came out with Cleveland last night where they were going to get Cooper and a second-round pick. They apparently agreed to that deal. And so that's the only real leverage they have is from Pittsburgh's side. But from like getting Ayuk signed, I predicted months ago that I thought they'd ultimately fold and give Ayuk the money he wants. But I don't know if they could. Yeah.
Let's also add something here. Like, if they ship Ayuk and, they have Debo and then that new guy, what's his name? Ricky Pearsall. Like, Debo is going to be 30 next year.
Mm-hmm.
And his cap is increasing. And I don't think he's the type of guy that, like, I'm not sure his best days are ahead of him. I think they're behind him. And it's like, all of a sudden, that wide receiver group doesn't look that good, actually. It's a pretty fair shelf, actually.
And adding to that, Kittle's, I think, 31.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
McCaffrey has already got a calf strain, and running backs are already as fungible as it gets. So, yeah, Evan's right. Like, they don't have – this is their window to win.
I'm actually
–
sorry,
go ahead.
I'm just surprised they didn't more seriously or maybe it wasn't reported, but I'm a little surprised they didn't trade Debo this year or like explore that more seriously.
They tried to have their cake and eat it too. They're trying to keep it all together for one more ride, and it's a high risk, like high wire act. And I think they're potentially not gonna make it. I'm surprised they didn't just pay Ayuk. I mean, they could have got him for the money that they probably are offering now if they had offered it a while ago, but then the market got away from them. And like, I just think they absolutely bungled this. And people will maybe cheer them on if they eventually cave and pay Ayuk, but I think it's not great. And I think if they end up having to trade him, I think it's a huge issue. Like, the only thing that I would buy as that they will have navigated this as well as possible is if they trade Ayuk to Pittsburgh, get enough draft compensation back that they can turn around and take that comp and trade it to the Raiders for Devontae Adams. Like, if they bring in Devontae Adams and they lose Brandon Ayuk, then I think, okay, you probably haven't lost that much. But I mean, even Amari Cooper, like, that's not going to happen, but he would have been a huge step back from Ayuk in a lot of different ways. And they're not going to get, Pickens from Pittsburgh. And I doubt they're going to get Freiermuth, the tight end, either. And even if they did, I don't think he's going to be like, he's not nearly the playmaker that Ayuk is. So I really feel like the 49ers have absolutely mismanaged this. And I love that about it. But I think, like, with Ayuk's response to that report yesterday, my interpretation after I saw that was, the 49ers are leaking this because they're going to have to trade Ayuk, and they want to get it out in the press to fans that they made one final push to sign him, and he turned them down so that they can paint him as the bad guy. That's how with all the information we have now, that's how I interpret it. You guys buy that?
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah. I mean, I saw an additional report. I shouldn't say a report. I should say a comment from 49ers reporter Tim Kawakami. I think is how you say his last name.
He's got me blocked.
Same.
What?
For
You
defending
guys
Brian.
blocked?
Yeah, I defended Brian, and he blocked me immediately.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. So he made a comment that, like, this was like yesterday that he made this comment, and it wasn't a report. I just felt like it was kind of reading the tea leaves a little bit. It sounds like the guaranteed money and it sounds like Jed York might be legitimately hesitant because, okay, let me rephrase this. So when you guarantee like money on an NFL contract and it's fully guaranteed from signing, some fans don't know this, but the owners have to put it into escrow. Like, that cash goes into an escrow account per like CBA rules. So the money is there, reserved, dedicated for the player. It's just weird financial stuff. And it sounds like there might be some hesitancy from the owner, Jed York, on that, which is like, if the issue is like rolling guarantees here versus like a full guarantee up front, man, that would be that'd be annoying as a Niners fan to me.
Oh, yeah.
If it's really not like a true total comp issue, it's just like some technical, like, when's this money going to full guarantee? It could be.
I know that there's a lot of folks that are sick of this story. Jeff's one of them, and there's other folks. We'll move on. I can't get enough of it. Like, I think this is one. I just love that there's turbulence for the Niners. Period. Two, I love that there's a decent chance that they've absolutely botched this. Yeah. Three, I think it's a really fascinating power dynamic between Ayuk, the 49ers, and the Steelers. I think I'm the only one that wouldn't be shocked if Ayuk holds out into the regular season. Mm-hmm. And if that happens, like, this idea that the 49ers have leverage, to me, is the weirdest thing. I don't see what their leverage is, because if Ayuk's willing to lose money into the regular season, I do not believe the 49ers are like, yeah, sit out 10 games and then play the end. We'll take it. I don't think that they want that.
Well, you know where that narrative came from, right?
From Lombardi?
From our friend David Lombardi. And he's been pumping this angle the whole time. And I saw Grant actually called him out on it when all the reports started to get really ugly last week. And He's like, so what happened to the 49ers having all the leverage? And then as like the trade rumors come out, I saw again Lombardi was like, look, the 49ers have created a bidding war. Like they're doing this so well. And if you want to know like why we're always crapping on this guy, this is the biggest story in the Niners in quite some time. And you can see who's the one reporting it. It's Matt Mayoko, it's Kawakami, it's Mike Silver. And Lombardi, the way he reacts to reports, I think both of you saw me kind of say like, it's weird for like a beat writer to like tweet other people's reports and then act like you know what's going on. Like, isn't it your job to know the story?
Yeah.
And like he was the one really pushing that message. Unfortunately, he has quite an impact on that pathetic fan base. But yeah, that angle was completely wrong.
David Lombardi is like if I became an NFL reporter. Like it's just not.
Well, honestly, that is how I talk about with me being a credentialed media now. I'm like, I'm David Lombardi, except one, I'm not a douche, and two, I admit I'm a fan. I'm biased. I am a Seahawks fan. I am not impartial. And he tries to play it off. He like all his pictures of him in a suit, like he's a professional reporter. He's like someone who came off of like a chat board somewhere and became like media. Like he's a poser. And I have no like if he just said what he was and owned it, then fine. Like everyone's got a place there. But to try to pretend like you're like ace reporter, like come on, dude, just stop. We got a bunch of super chats to get to. Let's run through these. Hawk Scoots, this is from a long time ago, says, "What do you use in Canada, Jeff? Dazen."
So I do use so what happened was in the last 2 years, there's a European company called DAZN or Dazen, and they bought all the NFL rights from Sunday Ticket. And so it's like a streaming service that's really, really good. It's actually really good. It's like $20 a month, and you get access to every game.
Wow.
And I guess I could get it for the preseason, but yeah, maybe I'll just do that. Actually, that's a good point.
All right, so that's one super chat. Next super chat from Robert Fredrickson. Thank you, and also a YouTube member, which we appreciate. Excited to see Mike McDonald with the crowd noise during the regular season. I don't believe he played in Seattle with the Ravens.
Oh, was he with Michigan when Lamar came to Seattle in like what year was that?
I think he was with Baltimore. I heard him talking about that with someone.
Or was he in Baltimore that year? Remember they kicked our ass.
Yeah, he was the linebacker coach, I think.
Yes. Yeah, he was not the defensive coordinator that year, but
I think he went the next year to Michigan.
Was that 2021?
I think it was 2020.
2019.
2019?
Yeah.
30-16. Yeah.
Yep, I flew into that game.
Yeah, you guys were there.
Yeah.
We need the opener to be a streak breaker for you guys about coming for games.
It's been bad. I was undefeated until the real Hawk Talk game.
Yeah. Henry, also a YouTube member, says NFL Plus is $6.99 a month. That's what that's what I'm on. And you get all the access to the replays of any games and all 22 and all that kind of stuff. So
I'm not watching all 22.
And then Hawks fan Matt Man says, if any out-of-market fans are wondering, you can watch Seahawks preseason games live on NFL Plus at $6.99 a month. That's nice of you to spend a super chat, Matt, to let folks know. And then MG Slicker says, what's Coach Mac going to do if DK fights in games? Let's talk about this one.
Oh, I'd love to see this.
What do you think? What do you think would happen, Evan?
I don't think Mike Mack's going to tolerate it at all. Like, I think there's going to be a higher degree of accountability and a less degree of patience with this. I could see just based off the comments he's made in training camp. And I think like if DK, especially if it's like during a game against San Francisco, like where they're specifically targeting him, or against the Rams or something similar, I could see Mike Mack even being aggressive and benching DK, frankly.
Jeff, do you have a take on this?
Yeah, I'm with Evan. I think he's going to be a lot more disciplined. I think in practice he doesn't mind as much because I think I think the three of us agree. Like their intensity is good. It's helping them get a little tougher. They're more physical. I think he kind of talked about how they've kind of been on that fine line. I think he talked about this with Pelissero. I think he's kind of liked it. And it's kind of the Ravens style. They've been very same way at camp. In the games where it creates 15-yard penalties, I think I'm with Evan. I think that's where the whole narrative can change. And one of the things we were kind of on Pete about is there's always the protect the team thing. And he lost control of DK. And DK was kind of laughing him off last year. I don't think Mike would handle that nearly the same way. I think what Evan said was spot on.
So I think that one of the things with DK that we've all kind of lost track of is, so he's having those problems. It was multiple years. It started, continued last year. And then Pete Carroll said that thing in the press conference about that we had talked, and DK came out totally defiant and was like, no, like he can say whatever he wants. I'm going to do what I want, something, whatever it was. So we were all like, okay, DK's this diva who's going to do what he wants. Well, he didn't get another personal foul after that. And so while the narrative is DK just does whatever he wants, I think there's some evidence that he has made an adjustment. And I thought it was a really big story. Granted, I'm like so close to things, the perspective is off. But that DK Metcalf spoke to the team at the end of that 5-fight practice, I thought that was I was surprised because DK has not shown any indication that he wants to be a leader, that he will accept being a leader. And for him to do that, I thought that was a big deal. And I hope, I mean, it could be that I'm totally overblowing it, but I hope that I'm not. I hope it ends up being like a turning point where this season he ends up becoming a guy that really owns his position on the team as a leader.
I hope so. It was not ideal for him to swing a helmet at a player's head, though. Like
it wasn't, but like not going to defend that decision, but also going to be clear that he was not the initiator of that. And he also was trying to back away from that. Trey like brought it to him. And so not great, but I don't know. I'm just trying to leave some space, like, because I think people have closed the book on that, and I'm not sure it should be closed.
This is all cool and fine, guys. And like, I'm not like Trey DK. I'm not like that guy at all. But like, and he's super talented and probably our most talented player on the team, probably. But like, my patience is pretty much zero for him this year with these antics. Like, he's older now. He's a vet on this team. One of the highest paid players on the team. Like, he's got to show a degree of leadership, especially with a new regime. Like, we're relying on this guy to come through as a leader, psychologically, physically, on the field, everything. Like, my tolerance for that is quickly declining as a fan year over year.
Did you guys see any? There's been actually a bunch of like Seahawks interviews that have kind of come out the last few days. I don't know if you've seen the Albert Breer conversation with Gino and Mike McDonald. Jeff, I see you nodding your head. Did you see it?
Yeah, I watched it this morning. I saw you tweeted it. I watched it this morning.
Yeah, what did you think of that?
I think Gino is he's so comfortable within his own skin. And if you've heard him interview before, he's done a lot of those sit downs with the media. And every single time I come away impressed. And I think what you said is like, it's just a guy it's worth rooting for. He's really self-aware. He puts in the time. He owns it. And it was interesting to say that he was going to quit football until Antonio Brown, oddly enough, and an ex-quarterback who's now with, I think, the Bucks. But Antonio Brown convinced him that he is too talented to leave football.
Wasn't that wild?
That kind of blew my mind. I'm like, hey, why is anyone listening to Antonio Brown? But in this case, kind of worked out. And then he was talking basically that he never thought he'd be able to start again until really Pete and Dave Canales pumped him up to a level where he started to believe in himself again. And if you ever heard Dave Canales talk, and I've talked about this, is one of the reasons I never thought he was a candidate in Seattle, is he sounds like Pete. They're the same person. And when I heard him do his press conference this year, I was honestly freaked out. I'm like that. And then he hires Pete's son. He hires Pat McPherson. They have all these Seattle people there. And funny enough, they traded up for a running back in the second round this year. So I'm glad that's gone. But yeah, so just hearing Gino talk, he owns it. I think he's just really comfortable in who he is. And Mike, I was surprised. Like, and it was interesting to hear Mike just so positive about Gino, considering that whole saga in the offseason that we all went through of like how John was coming out and giving him no credit, and then Mike came out and was pumping up Drew Lock. And I don't know if it's just his change since he's been around him, or I don't know if he's just trying to pump him up, but it seems like Gino's really impressed Mike. I don't know if I'm just misreading that, but that was definitely the biggest change I've heard, because that was not the tone when we first heard him talk this offseason.
I have a mostly similar but slightly different reaction, which is that was the second time I've heard Mike McDonald say that he and Gino are working on their relationship, that it's only been 6 months. He said that in the press conference in response to one of the questions that I think I or someone else asked. And it's an odd response. It's an odd thing to bring up. Like, you don't, what does it mean to be working on your relationship? That, first of all, it means that it's not like, the easy thing to say is it's great. We are doing fantastic. We're like, have a ton of respect for each other, all that. And Gino also was like kind of indicating they're getting to know each other. What do you think that could be? Like, do you think that they're like, what do you think they're working on? What do you think maybe isn't already great with their relationship?
I mean, do you think there's some degree of like hesitancy with Gino getting so attached to Pete and being partially responsible for like rejuvenating his career, because he's spoken so fondly about Pete over the past couple of years, right?
Yeah.
How close they've become, how supportive of his career, all that fun stuff. But I mean, we all saw the picture of Gino like sulking in the press conference when, you know, Pete was saying his final goodbye, as everybody was, but like Gino, I think, took it particularly hard, rightfully so. And is it possible it's just not like building up a relationship with a new head coach, a new leader of a regime where, you know, he probably has sad feelings still about not working with Pete anymore. So I don't know. It's like he just broke up with somebody, you know, somebody broke up with him in a relationship, and it's like all of a sudden he's dating somebody new like 2 months later. And it's like,
this isn't about you, Evan.
Do you get what I'm saying though? It's like,
yeah, totally.
Yeah,
totally.
It's like,
yeah. Well, that's
simple.
That's
a good
I mean,
take.
my first thought was Gino really was attached to Pete, and I think Gino didn't appreciate how much they talked about Drew Lock this offseason and not about him. And so my thought, and this is like the most cynical view, but my thought was maybe Gino has not warmed up to them, and he's been a little standoffish. I will tell you, when I see Ryan Grubb and Gino in practice, there's like camaraderie. I see it. There's chemistry there. But I wonder if there's something else going on with McDonald.
Yeah, and from McDonald's side, like, they played Gino in his worst game of the season last year. And it was more what they did at the offensive line, but they completely neutralized. He was awful in that game, and that was the biggest criticism of Shane Waldron, is how they had no plan for them. And so this is McDonald's this is his break in his career. This is his chance. Finding the quarterback in the future is everything to him. And I wonder if he was a little hesitant going into this, and this year is sort of a trial period for him. And maybe that's just saying they're working on it. And funny enough, Carroll and Hasselbeck had the same kind of relationship year one. Matt will even talk about today on that, how he didn't love Pete at first and how he was trying to kind of limit all the interceptions and a defensive head coach. And so I do wonder if McDonald's looking at this is a trial year. That's what Seattle did with Hasselbeck. They ultimately moved on. And so he's maybe not going all in. If they had Russell in his second year, I bet you McDonald would be answering that question very differently. And they would know, this is my guy for the next 10 years. I got to have the best relationship with him.
I think those are all great points. And the fact that McDonald is a defensive coach, and I love that. I don't know how you guys feel, but he is unabashedly a defensive head coach. He has so much trouble talking about when the offense had a good practice. It's like gritted teeth. And I love that he kind of owns who he is. And I wish Pete did that more, honestly. How many years did Pete kind of stay at the top level, and then in the middle of the season when things were breaking, he had to get involved with the defense and try to correct something? And I don't think McDonald's ever going to lose touch with the defensive side of the ball, but it could have some of these other costs, like maybe not connecting with his quarterback at the same level. And so it's just something to watch. There was another stream I watched because I had trouble sleeping last night. It had nothing to do with the Seahawks for once, but I watched the Sound of the Seahawks. Episode 1 just came out yesterday. This is produced by the Seahawks. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, friend of the show, narrates. But there was it was a good portrait of McDonald. And one of the stories that I think is developing and cool is just his relationship with his dad. And his dad's been at a lot of the practices. His dad was his caddy at this golf tournament. We learned a little bit more about McDonald's golf game. I got to see his golf swing a little bit, which is nice. But there's one of the stories that came out in that was, again, why did McDonald pick to come here? And McDonald, they were talking to his dad, and his dad said Mike was pretty worried about, like, was this too far from the East Coast? Was this like too far away? It was his dad that said, that's one more movie that you watch on the airplane. Like, don't let that be the thing. And if people are like, whatever, that's not big. That one conversation with his dad could literally be the difference with why he's here versus not, because the amount of people that will just not even consider a West Coast job, let alone a Northwest job, it's a long list. So, like, I just thought that was cool. Like, he's a little bit, his dad is raising in my list of favorite characters for this new regime.
That's pretty wild because we've talked about this so many times already, but the series of events that needed to happen for McDonald even to get here. But watching that Giants Hard Knocks show and watching Mike Kafka and how much as he was like a beta and just like an aftermath, if that one conversation went the other way, where Seattle would have ended up in the coaching search would have been Mike Kafka or Dan Quinn, or once Ben Johnson pulled up, the list was not very exciting. I can't remember who the other finalist that was being rumored, but
Patrick Graham.
Yeah.
Like whatever.
I would feel so differently, and Ryan Grubb wouldn't be here. I would feel so differently about the Seahawks right now if this was like one of those guys.
Well, so as we kind of get towards the end of the show and wrapping, because I want to see Shane Waldron and Caleb Williams here in 15 minutes play. I think that's gonna be an NFL.
Are we doing a post-game show today?
No, not planning to. I'm going to be doing a watch party. Anyone who's welcome at 4:00, anyone who's welcome to watch with me, is welcome to join. But, no, I was talking about the Bears are playing at 10:00. And Caleb Williams, I think, will get his first snaps. Did you guys watch any of the Hard Knocks episode this week?
I did not.
Jeff?
I did not either. I heard it was much worse than the Giants one. So
It's pretty boring, to be honest. But seeing Shane Waldron coaching Caleb Williams and watching Caleb Williams just in that environment, Caleb Williams really does look overwhelmed. Like, NFL offense seemed like it was a lot for him to come up to speed on. He was missing a lot of throws. His fundamentals were pretty bad. There's a lot of throws where he's throwing off his back foot. Now, granted, they edit this all together as they want to, but this is a team that the Seahawks are playing this year. And I think most people chalk that up as a loss because they're going to be traveling for Thursday Night Football, and they expect this Bears offense to be really good. That Bears offense has been crap so far during camp. All reports are that it's struggling majorly. And so I don't know why, I just am really looking forward. There's another pod that I listened to just this morning that was talking about that the Seahawks had one of the lowest utilizations of 11 personnel in the NFL last year, 3 receiver sets, and that Shane Waldron just had all these things that like his usage of JSN. We're talking about that, Jeff. I immediately was like, oh, Jeff's got to listen to this. I just want to see Shane Waldron fall on his face. It's not like a nice thing, but it's true. And so I'm looking forward to that. But guys, I am look at Jeff's giant hand.
Yeah, what is that happening? I tried to click something on my screen. You ever watch It's Always Sunny, where there's an episode where like his lawyer brings a giant hand? Anyone know what I'm talking about? Uncle
No.
Jack. Oh, it's the most ridiculous episode of that show. I look like that there. I'll send you the clip after.
I'll get off my long diatribe here in a second. What I'm saying is I'm following all these teams the Seahawks are playing this year that could go up or down in terms of difficulty. Dolphins having an absolute crisis on their offensive line. Like they lost both their guards off season. They're not happy with the way the center they brought in is playing. Dolphins fans are freaking out. Patriots, maybe the team in most disarray in the NFL right now. They didn't even play Drake May more than like a series in his first game. It was absolutely a disaster. The Broncos, all three quarterbacks are playing like crap. That team looks like the offensive line looks bad. The Bears, I think there's some question marks there. There's a number of teams where if things break the right way, this schedule could go from like middle of the road to one of the easier schedules, depending on how things fall. So I don't know. I don't mind an easy schedule that gets us some extra wins. What else? Anything else that I haven't brought up relative to the game tonight? Storylines, things that you guys are thinking about looking at. There's a super chat I can bring up here. Hold on.
It's
Yeah, go ahead.
How do you feel that they're playing Jim Harbaugh tonight? It's crazy though. Like that used to be like the bane of our existence. It's like it's crazy. Like, it's just like a nothing burger these days.
It's a big night for D. Eskridge. Let me tell you that. Big night.
It is. I mean, he has this ability to never make an impact. Like I watching him in training camp, even like the passes that come his way, sometimes it's not his fault. Like bad throw, guy makes a play on it, but he's also dropped a number of passes. And it's just like at some point you got to be a playmaker, right? If you're supposed to be a playmaker, you got to make plays. And I don't know, man. I like Laviska Shenault. I've been liking what I see from him. I hope that they've been kind of hesitant about him. I think maybe I don't know if they like him in the locker room. I'm not sure, but as a playmaker, I think I like him a lot better than Eskridge. As far as Harbaugh goes, I mean, I asked guys because AJ Barner's playing him. You know, obviously Mike McDonald's playing against him. Oluwatimi's playing against him. Mike Morris is playing against him. So Mike Moe was the only one that kind of bit and was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to let them know if if I make a play." But the rest of them were pretty nonchalant about it. Jay Harbaugh is playing his dad, you know, right? All right, we got a super chat here from ATM351. Cheers to you guys. Quick question. When Jeff and Evan have their chances coming up to Seattle, will there be a meet and greet? Would love to have beer with you guys and tell Evan my traumatic moments at the gym. So there is one, but it's for Ring of Honor members at Patreon. So we will be going to Daniel's Broiler and having dinner, and Evan and Jeff will be there for that, as will Nathan. But that is Ring of Honor members only. So there are some spots available. If people want to join as a Ring of Honor member, you can get in patreon.com/hawkblogger. It's not too late, but I don't think there will be anything else unless you guys are
not like an official meet and greet, but like we are going to week 1, right, for this Broncos game, and we'll be pre-gaming a little bit in downtown Seattle. So maybe we'll throw out a bar location or something that we're at. Who knows?
Yeah, I definitely want to catch as much of those games as I can. I went hesitant of missing week 1. So yeah, I'll be around as early as possible watching.
Yeah, we'll let folks know. We'll definitely be at a bar for pregame. So that's a good point. All right, fellas. I think that's good to go. I will just give people one more reminder. One, if you haven't already clicked like and click subscribe, please do so. And then tonight, for this afternoon, 4:00 Pacific time, I will be hosting a watch party. So anyone who wants to watch the Seahawks game with me, wants to hear any background I have on the players and what we're seeing from Ryan Grubb and the plays that are being called, feel free to join. It's always fun to hang out during the games. So appreciate you all. Appreciate the surprise appearance by Evan Hill at Evan Hill HB. Jeff Simmons from his cottage/lake house location in Canada. Awesome. And guys, have a great rest of your day. We'll talk more soon.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. All right. Take care, everybody.
Enjoy today, buddy.